Here's Goodnight Olive making her move to take the lead by a head around the far turn. Race Kane has nearly 10 lengths to make up, so does Scooby Guando, verifying the leader. Top of the stretch, Tap It Trice is coming onto the outside. Up to the mark is running late behind Master of the Seas. Set piece down the center of the course. Master of the Seas alongside Annapolis. Here's Elusive Princess coming after Maj, and Mission of Joy tries to find room between that pair. Maj has the lead. Mission of Joy second, Elusive Princess third. The champ in front. Goodnight Olive chased all the way. Tap It Trice! Tap It Trice wins the Toyota Bluegrass.
And a good Tuesday evening, everyone. Welcome into the Keeneland Look Ahead for the Wednesday, October 9th card. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now. We are going to handicap 8 races for the Wednesday card. The first 5 are so much more important after Sunday. Players shot blanks in the early pick 5. Nobody hit the early pick 5 on Sunday, resulting in a carryover of more than $265,934 into the pick 5 carryover. That begins in race number 1, pick 5, a 50-cent minimum wager. We'll talk about that in detail tonight. You'll get my thoughts on the pick 5 sequence. We'll also look at the overview of the entire 8-race card, where the wagers overlap here with an 8-race configuration, our first of the meet. Races 4 and 5 in the middle of the card are going to be part of everything. You know, they're kind of swing races, as I call them. We'll discuss how they're going to impact the pick 4s and the pick 5s and why you want to spend a little extra time on those. Sunny skies, 72 degrees in the forecast, should be fast and firm once again for the racing conditions at Keeneland come Wednesday. Now, how is the track going to play? We had 3 days of racing last week. Friday was extremely fast. I mean, all-time fast in terms of times, the way the horses were running at Keeneland. On Saturday, it was pretty quick, but those were outstanding horses. On Sunday, it slowed down considerably. So the track got a little slower each day. What will we have after 2 off days? We're going to find out early in the card on Wednesday and see how the track's going to play. My thoughts is it'll play on the slower side and not be what we saw the first and second days of the meet. More like Sunday, probably, as we get into this program. 10.2 horses per race on average in the entries before scratches for that early pick 5 sequence. There are no free spaces. There are a couple short prices in the morning line in that pick 5 sequence, but I don't even look at those races as just like wide open or as tap in putts. I look at some of those as a little more wide open than the morning line might even suggest. Okay, before we get into week number 2, recap a little bit of what we saw during the opening week of racing at Keeneland. Favorites won 35%. Good average, nothing wrong with that. Just a tick or two below the national average. National average now is about 37, 38%, so a little under there. 7-1 for an average winner. That's a little higher than usual, what we're used to seeing at Keeneland, so some nice prices there. 11 winners via Saratoga preps. That's, you know, to be expected during Fall Stars weekend with all of the stakes. We're going to see a shift now in those horses from Churchill, Kentucky Downs. A lot more of the regional winners from the Midwest probably are going to take flight with less emphasis on graded stakes races like we had during Fall Stars weekend. That's all pretty normal. Tyler Gaffalione, Brad Cox off the good starts. That's also very normal at Keeneland. So what did we see? Nothing really abnormal. What we saw was 35% winning favorites, a little bit higher prices than usual. The Saratoga horses did well, as you would expect during the stakes run. And Gaffalione's 5 winners topped the jockeys. Cox with 4 winners top the trainers. As we get into week number 2, I looked at the stats over the last 3 years during week 2 of the meet. Does it change a little bit? Top of the trainer board, Wesley Ward, Brad Cox, Todd Pletcher. 8 wins, 7 wins, 7 wins, respectively. That's about what you'd expect. Chad Brown has 6. Again, no big change up there. But Kenny McPeak and Mike Maker both with 6 wins during week 2 of the meet the last 3 years combined. So those are 2 very Kentucky-type barns. And as we see more Kentucky-type horses that we're going to get during the second week of racing, McPeak, Maker, those are the kind of barns you would expect to rise up, and statistically they have here during the last 3 fall meets. On a personal level, handicapping 9 for 31 with top selections here last week, so a little bit underperforming there. I'd like to get that up around 12 for 31, somewhere around there. So a couple winners short of what I want, and $3 in the hole after 3 days of racing in terms of an ROI. So Need to pick up and do a little bit better in the handicapping column, but it's not a terrible performance, but certainly expect to do better than that. So let's see what we can do here for week number 2. All right, let's take a look at the overview, the snapshot of the opening card for week number 2. Wednesday's racing's got an 8-race program, and as we mentioned, there's going to be a lot of overlap with the multi-race wagers. My key plays are marked in orange. You see 1 during the early pick 5. Then 2 plays later in the day, races 6 and 8 are part of my key plays on the card. So carryover in the pick 5, 265,924 begins in race number 1. The early pick 5 then is followed by the pick 4 beginning in race number 2. That'll be races 2 through 5. So there's going to be an overlap. The pick 4 races 2 through 5, and then the late pick 4, 5 through 8. So the pick 4s are going to both run through race number 5. Both pick 5s are going to run through both the 4th and the 5th races. So races 4 and 5 have got to be kind of important in your handicapping. So let's see what you can do in those swing races as we get set to handicap the card. Daily doubles, rolling pick 3s throughout the card. And of course, the Toyota Super High 5 will wrap things up. A couple jockeys in town, back in town after riding out of town in New York over the weekend. We're going to see Irad Ortiz and Flavian Pratt back in the riding colony on Wednesday. All right, so let's get to the handicapping. Let's go to race number 1 on the card. First leg of this carryover pick 5. And as we take a look across the way, you're going to see with the public handicappers at Keeneland, there are 4 different horses picked on top in race number 1 in just a 7-horse field. That's a bit of a theme. If you go down through the first 5 races, this pick 5 sequence, the public handicappers, this is the number of different horses picked on top by us in this pick 5. 4 in the first, 4 different in the second, just 2 in the third, then 4 in the fourth, and all 5 of us have a different horse on top in race number 5. So if you just played that with all of our top choices, you're at $320 for a 50-cent ticket, 4x4 by 2 by 4 by 5. We got to whittle that down, but these races are not easy to do so. In the opener, we're going to start things out with a $10,000 starter allowance in here. I'm on the 7 Samarita, and I think I'm funny going for a 15-1 morning line shot. Gabby's right along with me. We're the only 2 with Samarita in our top 3, but I don't know her reasoning for it, but I'm going to say this horse has already won this race. It happened last October. Samarita came in here, $10,000 starter allowance for Jose Rodriguez, won this race nicely in the first start at Keeneland, came back in the spring, ran in another similar starter allowance, and won that. 2 for 2, same kind of races over this track. Why not Samarita? I know the recent form isn't wonderful, but the horse was beaten at 2-5 last time, won 2 starts back. The last race was an off track, so maybe we say just give him a little mulligan, get him beat at 2-5 on an off track. We're going to get a fast track on Wednesday at Keeneland, so why not Samarita? I don't get the 15-1 morning line. I don't think the horse is going to be 15-1, but I don't think we're going to get one to be the favorite either. Gabby and I both with that runner on top, but nobody else has Samarita across the way. Now, who else might you use here in your pick 4 and pick 5? I thought the 1 Never Sway and the 3 Forever Home were the next 2 logical contenders. Never Sway, top pick in here for Kim. Second choice on the board for Scott. The 1 Never Sway, a horse who's won 3 of the last 4 for Robertina Diodoro. This horse is well-traveled. You're going to see that race at Century Mile in Canada and say, I don't want some horse from Century Mile. But this is the horse who won at Oaklawn in a starter allowance in the spring, won at Lone Star. So there's plenty of quality there. Diodoro got this horse from Southern California. This horse had been running and winning and claiming races at Del Mar. So nothing question with the class of Never Sway in here. Just because that last race locale looks so far off Broadway, you'd say, I'm not playing a horse from the Century Mile to run at Keeneland. This horse is not a Canadian horse. This horse is clearly a big circuit runner, has run in Southern California, has run at Oaklawn. So 1 Never Sway figures in there. Number 3, Forever Home's the 9-5 morning line favorite, but only Tom Leach has the 3 on top. We all have Forever Home somewhere in the top 3, so maybe that makes this one the most trustworthy of the bunch. But look at the Keeneland record. This is why I don't have the horse in my top 2. 3 starts at Keeneland, best finish, a 3rd place effort. And in that race against Samarita last year, in the same spot in April, in the spring race against Samarita, the 3 Forever Home was 12-1 and got beat 9 3/4 lengths. Why do I have to take 9-5 on this horse? Because he ran a big number last time at Churchill. Yeah, you got an 81 buyer, and that's going to take some attention, but These two have run head-to-head here in the spring, and it was no contest. So Samarita at 15-1 or Forever Home at 9-5. No thanks. So I'm on Samarita in here. 7-1-3, the way I've got it started out. Could you get bold and try to throw the 3 out and try to get through on the pick 5 on just 2 deep? I wouldn't be against that, but there are some other options in here. But 7-1 to me are the 2 plays in race number 1 to kick off this carryover pick 5. Let's go to the second race on the card. Now, this is a race that I think you do need to spread. Race number 2 is a maiden claimer, 6 furlongs here. These are 3-year-olds and up, so some veteran maiden claimers in this particular spot. Pick 4 starts here in race number 2. As for the public handicappers, as we look across the way here, again, this is another race where 4 different horses are picked on top. Masked Man, the 12, is the only horse picked by more than one handicapper. This one for Irad Ortiz coming in off a race at Monmouth. The one reason I didn't use Masked Man in my top 3 is the horse who beat him, David Songs, came back and ran 4th next time out. Didn't follow up that race with anything of note. And that horse, David Songs, who won at Monmouth over Masked Man last time, was over 6 prior going into the race. It already had 6 tries as a maiden. So I'm not thinking that second beaten 5 is a great effort. Numbers wise, I get it. 64 Beyer speed figures. So if you're a speed figure player, which you folks who watch this podcast know, I'm not really a speed figure guy at all. It's Irad Ortiz, and the horse has a big figure, so that makes him the 7-2 morning line favorite. But for me, I'm not wild about the 12 in here. I think you could spread and not use the 12 and try to get through. I'm on the 10, the 6, and the 7 in this particular spot. The 10, Grand Illusion, 15-1 in the morning line. Now, this horse drops out of a maiden special at Horseshoe Indianapolis last time, goes blinkers on, goes to a good journeyman jockey in Corey Lannery. And what I like about this is a good trainer angle here. Wayne Catalano, the trainer of Grand Illusion, he's had 14 starters here in the past in these 3-year-old and up maiden claiming races in sprints. Out of those 14 horses, 3 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. He's 7 for 14 in the money, 5 for 14 in the exact, and again, 3 for 14 in the winner's circle. He's got some older maidens who fit in these kind of spots, just like this one, who he drops out of a maiden special into a maiden claimer, and he's had some success with it. 15-1 in the morning line in both the first race and the second race. I'm all right with that. So give me number 10 in here, Grand Illusion, for one of my plays. And the 6, D-Day, another horse dropping out of a maiden special for Rob Atris. This horse has run all in Kentucky for a primarily New York-based trainer in Atris, but D-Day makes a big class drop, also goes turf to dirt. Usually the turf maiden special weights are a little bit tougher. I think it's a little more select company. So that's almost a double drop in class from a turf maiden special to a dirt maiden claimer. The 6, D-Day, 12-1 with Jaime Torres on the morning line. I think this is a legitimate horse. 10 and 6, both at nice prices. And then River Ridge, the third choice in here for me. This is a horse who's just got decent form, has run fair at no matter track. He goes to Tampa, to Hawthorne, to Colonial, to Churchill, and he's run well over all of them. I think he's more of an underneath horse, but could be a horse that you're looking at potentially on top. The 10, or I talked about the training stats for the 10, Grand Illusion. The 11, Spinning Heart. I'm a little worried about the trainer stat on this one. Trainer Mac Roberts in maiden claimers in the fall here at Keeneland. High percentage trainer in Minnesota. He's 0 for 10 with his maiden claimers here during fall meets at Keeneland. Spinning Heart, the 11's had plenty of chances, 0 for 8, and is 4-1 in the morning line. So I think the favorites are a little vulnerable in here. If you want to spread out and get some coverage in race number 2, I think there's some chances to do it. So I've got 10, 6, 7 across the way. And if you want to go a little bit deeper in this particular spot, I certainly wouldn't have any argument with you trying to get some extras in there. The 1, Idiosyncrasies, is a first-time starter for Wesley Ward. We saw Ward win earlier opening week with an older maiden claiming first-time starter like this. So Idiosyncrasies, certainly with Ward and Velasquez is one that you wouldn't want to lose the carryover pick 5 to a horse like that. You could certainly throw the 1 in there under consideration. So that's the way I see race number 2. Again, that's the kickoff leg to the early pick 4. So let's go to race number 3. This is where the pick 6s will start. No carryover in the $1 pick 6 going in to the Wednesday program. Race number 3 is a claimer, multi-condition claimer, dual condition claimer, if you will. It's for 3-year-olds or horses who have not won 3 lifetime races. So if you're a 3-year-old and you've won more than 3 races, you could be eligible for this race. An older horse has to be eligible for the non-winner of 3 lifetime condition. Rarely do we see a 3-year-old actually enter these races who has more than the given number of victories to be eligible. But number 2, Dutch Mills, is the rare case. He's a 5-time winner running in a race that all the other horses are non-winners of 3 lifetime. Dutch Mills, with those 5 victories from just 10 starts, is a 3-year-old son of Run Happy. He's got no speed at all, though. He is a deep drop back closer. So while I give Dutch Mills a chance, coming from way off the pace, going 6 furlongs here at Keeneland in a sprint, not easy to do on any situation when you go 6 furlongs here. But the way the track played opening week, even to Sunday, where we did get some closers on Sunday, but at 6 furlongs, you don't want to be coming as far back as Dutch Mills is going to be trying to rally from. So I used him underneath, but I took a couple different shots on top. Everybody in here is on Normandy Hero, and I didn't use Normandy Hero in my top 3. Now, Normandy Hero, the horse for course angle, probably is attracting a lot of people, right? He's run here twice. He won an allowance race as a 2-year-old last year. He ran second in the Bowman Mill. But his races since then, he's just not carrying his speed. I know he's running against tougher in allowance races at Churchill and Ellis, but at Ellis Park and Allowance Company in the slop, you just figure he would carry his speed farther than he did. He's stopping a half mile through the race. Could Normandy Hero go wire to wire in here? A lot of folks think he will. But he's 9-2 in the morning line. If those 4 public handicappers are all on the same horse, you're probably not getting 9-2 on Normandy Hero. He's probably going to be bet down a little bit. Number 1, Invulnerable, is 6-5 in the morning line. Nobody picked the horse on top. Now, everybody's got him second or third, but this is just a big class drop question mark. I don't know what to do with a horse like Invulnerable. Big class drop here. The recent form isn't that good, but Joe Sharp got off to a really good start at the meet. He won 2 of his first 3 starters last week. He gets Irad Ortiz to ride, which isn't a normal pairing for the barn. That's a good sign when you get one of the world's best jockeys, and he's by Practical Joke. So while we've never seen Invulnerable run on the dirt here at Keeneland, he's bred to love it. Coming into the meet, it was 27% wins for the Practical Jokes over the main track here. So Invulnerable certainly is a horse you have to consider, but at 6-5 in the morning line, it seems like way too short of a price for a horse who's in poor form. So I think that's kind of what you're seeing in the handicapper selectors box. We're all admitting that this horse has got a decent shot, right? Nobody's throwing Invulnerable out of the mix. But at the same time, nobody's wanting to take him at 6-5 in the morning line. If his price rises, if Normandy Hero takes more money and Invulnerable raises up, maybe you find him at fair odds at 9-5, 2-1. Then if you wanted to bet him at that price, I wouldn't have an argument with you. I went with the 4 in here, Improbable Journey. This is a horse who was 2-1 at Saratoga against similar horses last time. And he stumbled at the starts and he ran terribly. But if you draw a line through that race completely, I mean, again, he was 2-1 for a non-winners of 3 at Saratoga last out. Prior to that, he ran a good third at Churchill at 2-1. Prior to that, he got beat a length at Churchill at a 13-1 price. He's never really run a bad race on the main track. I mean, his only other bad race goes back to June when he ran a poor race one time. So he's rather consistent. Improbable Journey just ran a bad one last time. We talked about Mike Maker's barn getting better during week 2 of the meet, historically over the last 3 falls. So Improbable Journey, he goes to Saez. Saez was aboard this horse 2 starts back when he ran a good race at Churchill. 10-1 on Improbable Journey here. Not a bad play. This is a horse I could get excited about. And we talked about it last week, but in short field 6 furlong races, 7 or less, Luis Saez has clearly the best stats at Keeneland. He's a very strong winner. I think it's 25, 26%, something like that in short field 6 furlong sprints. He rides the cat and mouse game good when they're all not just out there barreling for positions. This race will be tactical, and this horse has some speed. So I think Improbable Journey is shot in here at a fair price. But there are several you could use in this race. Literally 7 in the field, and I wrote on my past performances 4, 1, 2, 5, 3 in that order. That's pretty much 5 of the 7. That is 5 of the 7, not pretty much 5 of the 7. You can make an argument for several of these in this particular race. I didn't use the 6 or the 7. Everybody else I've got in the mix here for a race number 3. To the fourth we go. It's the first of two swing races back to back. When I say swing races, that means they're part of the early pick four and the late pick four, part of the early pick five and the late pick five. So what we've got here is a swing race in the pick five in race number four. It's going to be part of both sequences. I've got tough with two underlines written at the top of my page. That is kind of the way a lot of these races line up. And when we talked about, how do the public handicappers here at Keeneland.com see these races? This is another one, race number four, where there are four different horses picked on top by the five public handicappers. The 1, the 2, the 4, and the 6 each get top tabs in here. The 6 gets picked on top by two handicappers in here. Tom and Kim both have the 6 on top, and nobody else mentions the 6 in their top threes. So that tells you that this is another really difficult race. If you're playing this pick five, you are going to have to find a race where you can narrow it down with a little confidence. Maybe it comes right off the bat. Maybe we take that horse for course Samarita to win again and then spread out in some of the other legs. Improbable Journey. Maybe you get bold, like with my opinions. I kind of, I want to try to beat Invulnerable in there. Dutch Mills maybe won't get up. So maybe Improbable Journey becomes an improbable single at 10-1 if you're trying to put together a ticket. That's if you agree with my opinion on the particular horse. But that's the same kind of mindset and thinking you need to have when you're putting together your pick five ticket. You're trying to find your best opinions and then, drill down on those so that you can spread in the other spots. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about race number 4. I think there's a lot of speed in this race, but 6.5 furlong claimers at Keeneland, these races aren't set up for closers. I mean, these races are supposed to be won by front end types. Where does that speed come from? We're not quite sure. And you get another impossible class dropper in here like we had on some of the other races to try to figure out. The 4, Just Say When, is going to be my top pick in here, taking a big class drop. I'm not sure what this horse is going to do, but I know this horse doesn't look like a $16,000 claimer. This horse has won going turf to dirt in the past. We're going turf to dirt here. The win at Keeneland was a turf to dirt move when this horse won over the track back in October. Or did win on the turf here and won on the dirt. So this is a horse who's won over both surfaces at Keeneland. The turf to dirt move can work here, I think. I'm taking my shot. And when we talked about jockey stats, how good that we saw that Saez is in the small field 6 furlong races, I want to see like 6.5 furlong sprints, right? It's a little bit extra. It's not just, just dead about speed. And in this race where there's so much speed in here and I'm trying to figure out who may have some horse left, I thought I'd run the jockey stats on everybody in this race at 6.5 furlongs at Keeneland. I ended up with Jose Ortiz, and he's on the 4, Just Say When. Jose Ortiz in 6.5 furlong races, he's ridden 47 of them here at Keeneland on the dirt. 22 times in the exacta. He's almost 50% in the exacta, 28% wins. So he rides the 6.5 races quite well, especially if he has the horse. And Just Say When, the 4 is a horse who's won here over the track and won over the turf. So on the class drop, I don't know what kind of horse we're going to have now that they're willing to give this horse up for $16,000, but they are running for $51,000 in the purse. So a win at Keeneland on a class drop in a $51,000 purse may not be just a complete fire sale for a horse who may not be as good or damaged goods from what he once was. So let's look at the other handicappers here in race number 4 and see what they've got here. Again, I'll go with Just Say When here, and I'm almost on the island. Tom Leach has Just Say When picked 3rd. That's all for the handicappers here. A Tallahatchie Bridge is pretty common in the top 2 across the way. Also the top pick for Gabby, the 2 Tallahatchie Bridge. Eddie Keneally's horses running 6.5 at Keeneland. He gets these sprinters ready to go. 31 starts. He's got 10 wins, 4 seconds, and 4 thirds, or 8 thirds, I should say, 10-4-8. So Eddie Keneally's horses going 6.5 at Keeneland have an amazing record, 10 for 31 with what? That's 22 of 31 in the money. So Keneally's horses sprinting this trip, also very good. So the 2 Tallahatchie Bridge certainly has to be considered in here. My 3rd choice then was the 10 Lycan. This is a big long shot, 30-1, but this is another one. A horse who's run well over the track with a win here. Robertina Diodoro bringing a horse from Century Mile, but this horse was never offered for a claiming tag at Century Mile, was protected up there. But this is a horse who was very competitive for $32,000 at Oaklawn, claimed a couple times at Oaklawn for $32,000. This horse very well could fit for 16 at Keeneland. I have no idea why Lycan would be 30-1. I don't think he's going to be 30-1. But again, it's probably just kind of a, snobbery that we're not going to play horses from Century Mile against horses from all these other big venues. But again, if this horse had not run the last 4 times at Century Mile and was just coming off a layoff from the decent Oaklawn form for a high percentage trainer like Diodoro and with a win over the track, the horse is probably 15-1, not 30-1. So those Century Mile races doesn't make him any worse, but I think it changes the perception a little bit. So liking the 10 in here could be a factor at a nice price. Other one in here I liked was Vulcan, the 7. I think 4, 2, 10, 7 are all horses that I would consider 4 deep maybe in this race number 4 for the pick 4 and the pick 5. You look at the other handicappers, I did not use Appeal Denied amongst those top 4. That's the 6 in here. Appeal Denied does have a win over the track back in April of 23. Has only 1 start this year and faded in that one. Does drop a bit in class from the 25 level, but an Ellis 25 to a Keeneland 16, I'm not so sure that's a class drop. This race is actually fairly tough. So Appeal Denied doesn't look bad, but it's Irad Ortiz, it's Greg Foley, good sprint connections there. I would have no argue if anybody had Appeal Denied, but how deep can we keep going in the various legs? There's not a lot of horses that are easy throwouts in here, and I just have some others that I prefer a little bit more. So 4, 2, 10, and 7, the way I'm going to try to get through race number 4. That is a swing leg in the early and late pick 5s. You wish in a swing race that you could narrow it down a little bit more, right? I mean, because when you think about your multipliers on how much your ticket's going to cost, if you're 4 or 5 deep in that race, that means your ticket's going to cost 4 times as much as if you had a single, and you're going to have it over 2 different sequences. So like if you could single that leg, you'd save 4 times on the early pick 5 and 4 times the amount on the late pick 5. Or you could play a $4 ticket for the exact same amount or a $2 ticket for the same amount you're playing a 50-cent ticket. So you really want to try to find a single if you can in those swing races. But race 4, I don't think just jumps up and screams single for you. To the 5th we go. It's another swing race here in the late pick 4 or in the pick 4s and the pick 5s, right? The early pick 4 is going to be races 2 through 5, and then 5 through 8 will be the late pick 4. So this is part of both sequences. It's also part of both pick 5s. Can we narrow in race number 5 to try to reduce the price of these tickets? I wish I could say yes, but this is another tough one, folks. Race number 5, as we look across, this is the race where all 5 handicappers have 5 different horses picked on top. And a couple of these are in the also eligible list. The 15 weighted average and the 14 enchant are absolute win contenders in this race if either draws into it. I think the 13 Feeling Beachy is a horse you definitely want to consider if that one were to run in, were to draw in. So you really want to wait for scratches and changes to see what we can do here in race number 5. I've got it 9, 15, 14. And then if the 15, 14 don't get in, the other horses I've got next up are the 7 and the 2, a Lady Mace, and also the 2 El Megath. So here's why I like Runway Kitten. This is another 15-1 morning line. I'm either way off, I'm either way on with prices, or the morning line is way off. But I'm like 15-1 in 3 of the first 5 races, 10 or 12-1 in one of the other races. These are tough races, and I think I'm probably saying, look, if it's a tough race, I want the best horse at the best price instead of taking a 9-2 in a tough race where I think 4 or 5 of them can win it. But again, Runway Kitten, the 9, my top choice in here. This is a horse by Gunrunner, a filly. She comes out of 6.5 races at Kentucky Downs, 5 furlongs at Delmar. She's by Gunrunner out of a Kitten's Joy mare. That is route on route. She had no business at all being a sprinter, and she's done nothing on turf but sprint. 6 furlongs, 6.5, 5, and 6.5. All 4 of her races on turf were sprints. She finally gets to do what she's supposed to do, and her sprint races weren't terrible. She just couldn't run fast enough. She'd end up splitting the field about midway. If she runs that same even sprint and we stretch out here to 1 mile and 1/8 on turf, she's bred better for 1 mile and 1/8 than probably any horse in this race, yet she's done nothing but sprint. So I went with the 9, Runaway Kitten. I think she's going to be forwardly placed, stretching out to 1 mile and 1/8. She's got a speed jockey and Ricardo Santana aboard, so I expect from the 9 hole, she's going to try to break and get right into this race. I think she's a threat from the 1st, 2nd, 3rd positions into the clubhouse turn of forgetting to stop, because she's stretching out here and she's got the pedigree to run all day. She's a very even running sprinter that often translates to distance races. So I've got the 9 on top. That's my case for that 15-1 shot. As we look across with the other handicappers, again, 4 different shots to take on top. Again, but you have to wait for the scratches here. If the 15 draws in, consideration. 14, definite consideration. 13. The 13 and 15, though, are really deep closers. So if you like the horse I like, Runaway Kitten, and think you're going to be in the first flight all the way around, then you probably don't like the 15 and the 13 necessarily from way off the pace. The other horse who could be up fairly close amongst that group would be the 14 and Chance. So if the 14 draws into the race, then I would consider that one, maybe more of a win contender than some of the others. But I'm on the 9 in this particular spot. I like this horse. There are other good options in here. You got Pletcher with the 2, a horse who's been hung out in the outside post at Gulfstream this spring. Comes off the layoff, should be fresh. Inside draw with Jose Ortiz, should get a good run around there. I could see the 2 El McGeeth. So this is a race where you could get a little bit of coverage, but the scratches may help us. If the 15, 14, and 13 don't show up in here, then maybe you can get by with 9, 7, and 2 is the way I would line it up. 9, 7, 2, the way I line it up, if the also eligibles don't draw in, and that's the way I'll see race number 5. If you wanted to be really bold, I like Runaway Kitten a decent amount here. For 15-1 in the morning line, this is my kind of horse. Just they haven't given her the right spot to run in yet. So will we get 15-1? Who knows? And a lot depends on who draws in from the also eligible list or not, because those horses are going to take a lot of money too. So let's wait and see. But if you had to get to the last leg with only one bullet to fire, I could go with Runaway Kitten. And if we don't get to 15-1 and it's 7, 8, 10-1, that would still be a pretty nice single. So let's see how we do there, because look, we've got to do something on this sequence when we're looking at multi-race wagers, those swing races coming in and out of races. If we can single there versus going 3, 4, 5 deep, we cut the budget down, way down, and we don't have to spend nearly what we'd be looking at spreading in that particular spot. So between race 4 and race 5, the one I'd rather drill down on and just kind of single or narrow would actually be the 5th race over the 4th. Let's go to the 6th on the card now as we get out of that carryover pick 6. 3 races remain on the program. Want to mention, I didn't say it at the top, but there is no Keeneland Turf pick 3 on this Wednesday card because there are only 2 turf races on the program. So we do not have a Keeneland Turf pick 3 on Wednesday. To the 6th we go. This is one of my key plays of the card. I really like this one. Another 15-1 morning line. Again, so what does this make? 4 15-1s on top in the first 6 races. So I've got some shots. We got some swings to take on this Wednesday card. Maybe we're not going to hit the big carryover pick 5, where they'll have probably $2 to $3 million in fresh money bet into that big carryover. Nothing else nationally of any significance running around the country. There won't be a lot of competition for simulcast dollars. I'm saying $2 to $3 million gets bet into this pick 5. Maybe we can't take it down. Maybe it becomes too tough, but we've got a lot of price plays throughout the day that if you only hit one of them at 15-1 plus, you can have yourself a heck of a start to the week, and that's what we hope to do. So key play number 2 on the card, it comes up in race number 6, and it's going to be the 3 Whiskey Shot. Now, if we look across the way, I'm not on the island. Gabby and I are in Gabby and I see the card a little bit similar in some of these races compared to some of the other handicappers. She and I both have Whiskey Shot on top. Nobody else has Whiskey Shot mentioned. So are we going to get 15-1 in the morning line? Probably not 15. You also have Flavian Pratt, Rudy Brisset, the trainer, got off to a really nice start at the meet, so I think his horse is going to get bet a little bit. So I don't think we're getting 15-1 on Whiskey Shot, but I'm okay with this horse down around 6, 7-1. So bring it on for Whiskey Shot. This is a horse I like. Brisset get tremendous stats. Second career start. Doesn't get a lot out of his first-time starters. This horse drew the rail at Ellis Park, going that elbow start in the pseudo one-turn mile at Ellis Park. Kind of an even effort, field of 11, ended up 6th in there, showed a little bit of interest early, but took pressure the whole way from the inside draw. Now she gets out a little bit, but not too far out. This horse can save some ground because I don't think the 1 or the 2 are particularly fast in here. You get a jockey like Pratt, who's so smart. This horse is going to get good position into the clubhouse turn. I love those one-turn milers stretching out here to the mile and the 16th at Keeneland. The race is going to end at the 16th pole finish line. And Brisset's horse's second start, according to Daily Racing Form, 30% winners. with about a 14-15% profit on those horses. So I think a lot adds up to Whiskey Shot. Great post position. Love the jockey. Gets off the rail from the last particular race where he took all the pressure, but close enough to the inside that this horse is not going to lose any ground. And there are no world beaters in this particular race. There's a horse named the World Beater. The one is World Beater, but the way he ran, 9th beaten 16 in the career debut, he did not live up to the name. Now, who else might we use here in race number 6 underneath Whiskey Shot? At 15-1 morning line, even if you get 6-7-1, that's a win bet. You don't want to mess around and not get win money on a horse like that. But we can talk about some exotics for sure when we're looking at one of our key plays of the day. So who else do we want to use with Whiskey Shot in here? How about the 5, Fever Night, the 9, Cooper? I also think the 8's got a shot in here, Kinetic Control, the morning line favorite at 8-5, but not a horse I put in my top 3. And then the 11 in here, Morlock, is a horse who's definitely bred to enjoy some distance, a mile and a 16th there. Morlock by Bernardini out of St. John's River. That's just route on route. So I look for Morlock to enjoy going 2 turns for the first time. So 3 over the 5, 9, 8, 11. I'd look at that as an exacta key. 3 on top over the 5, 9, 8, 11. Maybe you go back with a smaller exacta key on the bottom side. 5, 9, 8, 11 over the 3. And of course, if you're playing trifectas or superfectas, you just take one of those, the 3 key on top over those other 4, and try to take your chances with it that way. So one of my key plays of the day, we got a nice price, great post. Barnes going well right now. You get a top pilot, great big chance in there, I think. Whiskey Shot. A horse who can move way up on the second career start. And again, bred to do this by Gun Runner. I have an Unbridled Song mare. Of course, Unbridled Song wasn't a Derby distance horse, but certainly a miler, mile and 16th. This should be right up the alley for an Unbridled Song mare, horse out of an Unbridled Song mare, and certainly by Gun Runner. So give me Whiskey Shot there as my second key play in race number 6. To the 7th we go. 7th race on the card is the Lowndes feature race, second level, non-winners of 2 other than 6 furlong sprint. And I've thrown a lot of long prices at you today, but I'm going to throw a shorty at you this time. Silver Rose, the 1, 2-1 on the morning line, and I think this horse is going to be tough in here. Not the morning line favorite. The 6 is Misenchanted at 8-5 as the morning line favorite. But I kind of think the public will end up maybe leaning towards the 1 Silver Rose. It's Florent Giroux. It's Brad Cox. These are the kind of horses that the Cox doesn't misfire with too often here at Keeneland. A sharp allowance sprinter like this. Throw out the 1 race at Presque Isle and Stakes Company on a synthetic track that she didn't like. Every other race this daughter of Constitution has run has been right there. Right there in the mix, barely beaten in the time she has been beaten. She's won 2 of 7. Give me the one in here, Silver Rose. I think she'll show decent speed from the rail. She's not a blaring front runner, but there's not a lot of early pace in this race. Maybe the speed comes from the 4 Viscountess, but if it doesn't come from Viscountess, the 4, it just might be Silver Rose right to the front. And that's kind of the trip that I'm projecting in here. So give me the 1 Silver Rose. As far as the multi-race day, pick 4s, pick 5s, you probably want to be too deep, and then you'll be definitely covered in here with Misenchanted. But I think there's a speed edge for Silver Rose in this particular spot. If you had to single one of those 2, give me Silver Rose over Misenchanted, but Misenchanted should definitely be part of it. This looks chalky to me, like these 2 have their way. And if you look at the public handicappers, we're all on the 1 or the 6 in this particular spot. Tom, myself, and Gabby with the 1, and everybody else has the 6 on top, that being Scott and Kim. So nothing very creative in that race, but of all the races on the card, that's a 6-horse sprint field where it kind of looks like a 2-horse race, and that one probably lines up the way that it does. Okay, so let's go to the final race on the card, race number 8, and it's my final key play of the program as we wrap things up. It's also the Toyota Super High 5 race. Final race on the card. And I'm going with number 6, Clever Mischief. This is my most confident play on the card. Race number 1, I like that horse. We're getting a nice price, horse for course. That's a key play. Race number 6, I think we're going to get a great trip at a great price. A key play there where I think we can make some cash. Big field size, good for the exotics. But race number 8 is my most confident play of the day. This is Clever Mischief, the 6 horse. This race at Kentucky Downs last time out was excellent. Look at the fractions in that race. Half mile on 45-4, 6 furlongs and 9-2. And this horse kept on, didn't give way over the course of that mile. Yes, we're going a mile and a 16th now at Keeneland, but this is a much less taxing turf course at Keeneland, especially with the fact that it's been so hot and dry that this turf course is really firm right now. So to go from Kentucky Downs, a demanding turf course, to this turf course at Keeneland, I know Kentucky Downs wasn't as demanding as it has been some years, but those were demanding splits. I don't see Clever Mischief giving anything back here. I think she's rock solid in this spot. So give me the 6 as the most likely winner of the day for Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt. 7-2 in the morning line. I don't know. This horse probably ends up favored, I'm guessing, but the one horse Green Light is the morning line favorite for Nick Tamaro. His morning line's got that one at 5-2. No knocks on Green Light. Like race 7, like race 8, this to me looks like the two main horses. And a lot of the public handicappers are similar. The 7 Born Flashy, the other to consider in here, Frankie Dettori riding for Ian Wilkes, another one coming out of a Kentucky Downs race. We're all in the 6-1-7 camp, I think, when you look at race number 8 for the most part. So I really think Clever Mischief wins this race. I would kind of look at a potential single here. In fact, not a potential single, a clear single here. And then you can decide what you want to do then. Can you afford to go too deep if you're playing the late pick 4, pick 5 in race number 7? Then you got Silver Rose and Misenchanted, and you probably have a strong chance of getting through that leg by having both of those. But Clever Mischief. But even so, you're going to get through in races 7 and 8 with some shorter prices later in the day. So you're going to have to get some horses, if you're playing the late pick 4 or pick 5, at some nicer prices early in the sequence. But we've got Runaway Kitten at a big number. We got Whiskey Shot at a big number. We've got Improbable Journey at a nice number. So going through the program, we've got plenty of chances to get you to those last couple of races where you say, just give me one of these 2-to-1 shots home and we can collect a nice pick 4 or pick 5. So moral to the story is, I feel a lot more confident about the later races on the card, but the money is in the early part of the program because of that $265,000 carryover in the pick 5. You can't force it. You've got to have an opinion in order to play. But a carryover is a situation that's a little bit different. It almost forces you to force it because there is no situation in horse racing or gambling for that matter that is more conducive to success than a carryover because it's money that can't beat you, right? In every wagering pool you are in pari-mutually, there's money in opposition to what you're doing, right? People are betting on horses that are against yours in the race. And so that money is working against you. It's working against your price. They're betting on your horse. This 265 can't beat you. So it's just there. The only thing it can do, and the only thing it will do, is increase the payout of whatever else combinations are played on the Wednesday card. So this is a free boost to the winning payout. And it's just a situation that is very difficult to pass up as a serious horse player. Now, if you're a $2 pick 6 player, you might say, I've got to pass up a carryover because those tickets just get way too expensive. But at a 50-cent pick 5, even if you put a ticket together that's $24, it's the right play to go after this with that carryover money, because if you hit it on your $24 ticket, you're going to get paid way more than you would have had there not been the carryover. So you've got to pursue that if you have any interest in putting together a pick 5 ticket. It's the smart gamble. It's the right thing to do. Do you wish you had some stronger opinions in some races? I do, but maybe you have better opinions on some of these races. Maybe I've dismissed some horses that you're absolutely locked in on. By all means, though, you want to attack a carryover. And when the world's all aligned, imagine if the carryover was like on the late part of the card where you're like, okay, I feel really confident about the late part of the card today, and there's a carryover. When those worlds collide, those are the days when you really want to dig into your account balance or, get that money clip out of your pocket or the money out of your purse or whatever you got hidden in the glove compartment of the car. Those are the days you want to dive in like that. But in this situation, I don't have super strong opinions at the first part of the card, but I've got long shot opinions. So I'm going to swing at them. If we're right, we're going to get paid well, and we're going to get paid more than we should because there are $265,000 in dead money in the pool that can't beat us but can only help us. So that's a look at the carryover pick 5 and the full card for Wednesday. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. We will be back tomorrow night, Wednesday night, when we preview the Thursday card. Week 2 at Keeneland features the big one on Saturday, the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. already drawn the fields for all the races this week. We're drawn all the way through Sunday. So some big stakes races coming up later in the week for the turfers. So you want to check those out. But no stakes today or Wednesday or Thursday. But we've got a 10-race card on Thursday. Already did some handicapping on that. So we'll have the podcast for you tomorrow night and get a good look at what happened in week number 2. Will the track stay as fast as it was the beginning of last week, or are we in a bit of a slowdown? We'll know a lot more when we reconvene tomorrow night. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you on Wednesday night.